it's been very helpful that my oldest daughter lives in New York, or she was living in New York. She's moved to LA now, but those long haul journeys to go with her were really good.
For a couple of chapters?
Yeah, lots of chapters. I could belt content out on a plane. I think probably largely because there's no distractions. I love getting away to write. This weekend I'm heading up to Queensland, as I said, to do some training, and I'm going a couple of days earlier, so there'll be some writing time in there, and that's really probably where I do my, my best writing. Although, having said that, if I'm here and I'm not working, if I'm here at home and I have an opportunity to go for a walk or something in nature before I write, it's really easy.
And I think the nature piece, Kate, how important is the coaching environment? Like, I get the content, but the environment of if you're coaching where you live now, closer to nature, or if it's, for a bushwalk, or if it's on a retreat, like, can you get an idea or give an idea of how the different environment affects the coaching and the information?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. So I started working at home in our old house, and then I shifted my coaching practice after about 4 years. I shifted into the city, and while I would say the intention's always, of course, to do my best work, I really noticed the difference in the energy of being in the city. And I was in the city for probably about 4 years, and it was great for clients because it meant that they could just leave their, I was working with a lot of lawyers and bankers and people who worked in service-based businesses in leadership positions. They could just leave their office and walk down the road and see me in Collins Street. But I knew in my heart that I did better work at home. And so the environment that I had in the other house was really beautiful. But what I've discovered since coming here is that this is really the place that I do the best work I've ever done. I work in a small room. It's not nearly as beautiful as the other room that I worked in. It's unrenovated. It's got brown windows and daggy carpet on the floor, but it's got the most beautiful energy. So yeah, the work that I do here is really I think my best work.
And I think that's an amazing point, because I think, how do you hold the tensions between, and if you're coaching a client, and the decision-making process comes between, having an abundance of work or getting, extra work, but doing good quality work. Like, how do you choose the relationships and the people you get involved with, as opposed to, financials or what they could give you, as opposed to, will this bring out the best quality in me?
I think it's a really delicate line, and it's like a lot of things. And this is a concept that I refer to in a couple of the books. It's a paradox. It might be that you do your best work in an environment like this, but of course I'm away from the city, which means that it's harder then to get clients, because I've got to have clients coming all the way out of, mostly they're coming from Melbourne. And I changed my fee structure to reflect that. I figured that I can't be charging Collins Street prices here. It just doesn't feel appropriate. So I've actually dropped my fees since coming here, which felt, and again, it's always intuitive. It felt like a good decision to do that. And, that still feels really, really right. But I think there is a tension between what's the work that will generate enough income for me to pay the bills and what's the work that feels inherently soulful. I try to keep pretty practical about that. So for a lot of years, I actually had a part-time job because my coaching work wasn't generating the kind of income that I needed to pay the bills. These days, my business as a whole does. The coaching work is part of it. I'm speaking, running workshops for corporates. I've got books and other products on, I've got a course that I'm selling on Insight Timer. So there's various different streams of revenue coming in. But I think that it's an imperfect equation. You can't just necessarily say, that doesn't matter where you are, that you can charge whatever you want and so on. I don't really necessarily agree with that concept. I think that it's about listening to your intuition.
Yeah, okay. And I was going to touch on the Insight Timer courses and the speaking. And how do you, Kate, you do have a lot of irons in a lot of different fires, but it's the same fire, which I think is really important. It's not like you're going to talk about, environmentalism and mindfulness. It's around coaching and personal development in your unique way. But how do you, find the right mix or blend for you that you still feel productive, but you've got enough diversity that there's income coming from multiple streams, so you've got diversity. You're not relying on coaching. If that goes bad, all of a sudden you're struggling.
Yeah. It does take a fair bit of energy to have diversity. So you're jumping from one thing to another. But I quite like it because, as I said earlier, I recognise that I am pretty creative, and for me to create a new program or a new offering is something that it actually energises me. The challenge is not so much the creation. The creation's the fun bit, but then marketing a new program, that can take a little bit of energy. But I just try to keep checking in and make sure that I'm not overdoing it. And I definitely don't get that right all the time. I sometimes push it too far, and then I've got to scale something back.
Yeah, because it's not just the thing that you don't get right that it affects all the other stuff that you might have right that you're taking from that to try to put into this one program that hasn't had legs yet, for instance.
Yes, definitely, that's right. So it's a constant evolution, really, and I think it just takes that willingness to stop. And people talk about work on your business as well as working in your business.
Yep.
It's sort of stepping back from it and going, okay, what are the things that I'm doing in my week that are really energizing? What are the things that I'm doing that are draining? How can I do this better? And not just in the business, but also in my personal life. I try to do that all the time, really just reflect and make sure that I'm getting it right. And there's always some adjustment to be made.
Yeah, okay. And just to finish, Kate, how do you renew your energy? Because I'd imagine that with what you do and the speaking and the coaching and the retreats and workshops, that it's an intense time and that you need to be on at your best. So, what's your renewal practice or process look like?
Yeah, well, I probably haven't been as good at this lately. I'm lucky, though, because I'm living in an environment that really just naturally restores me. But I love being outside. I love being in nature. That is very restorative for me. I need a bit more time for exercise because we've been renovating our house, and that's been, all my spare hours have been going into sorting that stuff out. Being in the garden's really healing for me. I love cooking. I do love socializing, but I'm also coming around to the fact that I love time alone, and I need to create time for and when I say alone, it can be just completely by myself or with my husband, Chris. We're really good together, just creating, sort of bit of space and stillness. And so instead of feeling bad about asking for that, that in years gone by, that would have been something that would have made me feel a bit guilty to say, look, I actually need some time out from being social. These days I'm starting to prioritise it a little bit more.
Mm. And do you have a view of a calendar, say 6 months ahead, where you've got blocks of holidays or, times to go and see your daughter that you can actually, visibly see the busyness or the bookings and then go, actually, here's a pause moment?
Yes, I'm finding that Chris and I have always taken, or not always, sorry, since the kids left home, which was quite a few years ago now, 5 years ago, we've taken a little mini break once a quarter. And that's been fantastic, and a holiday, not necessarily a really long holiday, but maybe 10 days in winter to go somewhere warm. So we do try to still do that, although we feel like we need to escape less being here.
Yeah.
So, just creating some decent pauses while we're here is really good. So that might be a 4-day weekend. In terms of catching up with Meg, they come down, usually every second weekend, which is beautiful. So we get to see a lot of them. But I'm going to be a grandma in October.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy. So I'm actually scheduling out a day for catching up with her, but also my mother-in-law is aging. So spending a bit of time, taking care of her as well. So, yeah, I try to structure my week fairly thoughtfully to make sure there are blocks of time where I can work on the business and blocks of time where I can see clients, blocks of time where I'm writing and, times for my own practice, if you like, my meditation practice and exercise is always first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So I do try to structure my week reasonably well to have blocks of time, for those different things. It doesn't always work out like that, but that's the intention.
Yeah, and I think that's a bit back to it's never going to be perfect. It's just got to be, it's 80-20 type rule, which I think is the same with, whether you're a coach or not a coach or a meditation teacher. I think there's this belief that you're going to be perfect, like you're going to have the perfect meditation practice every day and you'll have the perfect, calendar and allocation of time because that's what you do. But it's, the realness is it's a challenge for everyone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think it's really important to recognise that none of us have got it perfect. It's a bit of toing and froing. And I talk about this in particular to living in alignment with your values. If I look at, let's say, for example, my top value of inner harmony, that could be really high when I'm on holiday and it might be a little bit less high when I'm working really hard towards something. But the value of achievement might be a bit higher. So I then need to just balance them out. Okay, maybe a bit less achievement, a little bit more inner harmony might be good.
Yeah, and I even think with that, Kate, like if I, sometimes if I'm working with someone, it's like it might not feel like inner harmony right now, but if you complete something that you're really proud of and that you've done that's your best effort, then the inner harmony will come later.
That's right.
Which is really important.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Kate, where can people sort of follow you and get a hold of you if they need to? I know that you've got the courses on Insight, which are amazing, or a course on Insight and the books and the speaking and the retreats. Like, where's the best place for people to get a hold of you?
Just the website, really, totalbalance.com.au.
Everything's there?
Everything's there, yeah, and social media. If people are into social media, the links are there on the website as well.
I notice you're a bit like me. You're an early poster. Do you get up early and I get my inspiration really early in the morning to post?
Yeah, I do, although I'm posting less these days.
I'm a bit the same.
Yeah, I find that, look, social media has got a really beautiful place, but it's a lot of noise, and I figure that maybe less posts and, just keeping some quality there is a good thing. But usually I don't actually write them always first thing in the morning, but I'll schedule them.
Really?
Yeah, I'll schedule them early because I think that that's a nice time to. A lot of people are using social media early, and I feel it's a nice time to sort of hopefully inspire somebody in their day.
Yeah. No, Kate, it's been an amazing chat because it's been, I think, beautiful to get your insights into your journey. I think some people, you can have this portrayal that if someone's an author and are really successful in what they're doing, it's just been a natural progression from, a great job that go into just an easy coaching job and it just all falls into place. But then to hear that, that meditation came about when you were financially struggling and there was, some serendipity and into the books and how that all took place was, not just by pure structure, but by just putting it out there and really working hard, that it makes the story for someone else who's in a similar position trying to make those changes, it makes it real and achievable.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. And look, there have been lots of, we haven't talked about the failures along the way, but there have been lots of those as well, things that just didn't work out the way that I'd hoped. So it's definitely not linear. But I think, the key is just trusting your intuition and just keeping going forward with whatever feels really right for you at the time.
Yeah, and I think one thing I notice with a lot of people that I connect with, around mindfulness and coaching is just the constant discipline to put good energy out there. You might not always get it back, but the people that I find that I connect with, not all the time, like, you and I might only chat every 6 to 12 months, but those are the people that are really just thoughtful and continuing to be disciplined in what they do with the right intent.
Yeah, I think discipline's underestimated, isn't it? That willingness to get up every day and to be productive and, do the things that you need to do to create the kind of foundation. That's just so key.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm sort of looking at the moment is the discipline or the process to deliver the performance, which is the discipline. It's for a lot of people, it's the 20 minutes to meditate takes a lot of discipline early to create it and embed it. But that's the work there that I think that's got to start not to go to something that's 3 minutes or 2 minutes and try to wind it back and find the hack